We are back! Still afraid, still professional, and still rocking that quarantine lifestyle.
Today we're going to rewind a bit to talk about the disorder that's brought us all here today. I'm Dr. Professor Susanna Holub.
And I'm Professor Dr. Maya Kinney-Petruka. And these are the OCDiaires.
Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere
We toss around the phrase OCD a lot on this show. And we'd like to take the time now to talk about what the heck that is.
OCD is actually an acronym.
Ooh, fun.
That stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder.
The obsession part comes from getting those cute little things called intrusive thoughts that get caught in your head and play on a loop.
You ever been driving and been struck with the thought, what if I just steer right off the road?
Or you ever been standing with your sister by a lake and thought, what if I just push her in?
They're the what-if thoughts most of us have experienced, but with OCD, you obsess over them.
And it freaks you the freak out. You think you're nuts.
You think you're a terrible person.
You think you have the power to make bad things happen.
And the only way you can start to cope with that is a
compulsion. A compulsion is a behavior one does to try and alleviate the anxiety. I, for instance, am partially convinced that I can keep my family safe if I wash my hands after doing something like reading a book that has words in it relating to death.
So you have the obsessive part, the compulsion part, and then there's the D. Maya, would you say these thoughts and behaviors impact you constantly?
Why, yes, I would.
When a pattern of thoughts and behaviors becomes dysfunctional or detrimental to your life, it becomes a disorder.
It also shapes the way I see the world. I'm always feeling imaginary contamination on me, conscious or not.
Yeah, I constantly find symptoms of diseases in my body, and the fear of it consumes me, leaving room to think of little else until I see a doctor.
It can manifest differently for everyone, but the fundamentals of getting trapped in terrifying, bizarre thoughts and searching for external coping methods is the same. When Dr. Professor and I met at university, being able to talk about our craziness was a relief. We were not alone.
We were not the only ones on the planet with this strange talent to overthink fear.
Honestly, talking about the things we were afraid of sounded kind of funny when we said it out loud.
As a kid, I was petrified of the element mercury. A misunderstanding made me think mercury was red, not silver, because those old-timey thermometers use mercury. But I could only see the red line that shows you the temperature. I assumed any red liquids could be mercury and developed an anxiety around any red things I was not familiar with.
I never use 3-pronged forks. Only 4-pronged forks, because there are 4 people in my family, so 1 prong less than that would be disastrous.
You know what's not so funny is using a mental illness to describe your quirks.
Yes, I've had people do things to me like try and fix my collar on my shirt and defend it with, I'm just so OCD about that. First of all, don't touch me.
You wouldn't say something like, oh, I'm just so schizophrenic when you mean paranoid, and you maybe shouldn't say you're so OCD when you mean perfectionist or nitpicky or organized.
It didn't used to bother me at all. Lots of us have OCD tendencies, which are behaviors or thoughts that are OCD-like, but not necessarily the full-blown thing. Then I realized that maybe the reason people toss OCD around as an adjective is because somewhere down the line, there were some false stereotypes about what it actually is.
Yeah, we did some research and discovered that the term OCD is canonically an adjective in Google Dictionary, in addition to being a psychiatric diagnosis.
And that's weird. It kind of feels like language has evolved to diminish our experience.
It's a little rude, but we get it. The OCD icons we're exposed to don't always tell it like it is.
Do you know that when you Google OCD characters in media, you get Captain Ahab?
To be fair, he was obsessed.
And Danny Tanner from Full House, and Emma Pillsbury on Glee.
The neat freaks.
Those characters do display basic levels of OCD behavior.
Because behavior is easier to portray than thoughts.
But I never felt like I was being seen. In fact, I looked at Emma on Glee and I thought, oh, well, if that's OCD, I must be doing it wrong.
Or, well, I guess I'm a lot crazier than other people with OCD.
This is what we've all had to work with when we wonder, what is OCD? It's often hard to find the words to describe.
Hasn't stopped us from trying.
If you also want to try, we'd love to talk to you. Don't be a stranger. Come on the show.
COVID has brought out the worst fears in all of us. We want to be that healthy, cliche reminder that you are not alone.
Thanks for not being alone with us today.
Please share this video with your friends who misuse the term OCD on a regular basis.
And remember to leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, a follow, a subtweet, a retweet, whatever else you kids are doing these days.
And talk to us. We're so lonely.
That cat is taking a bath in front of you. Right in front of us all. Excuse me. Excuse me, we're trying to film something professional here. That's very rude.
The milkman, the paper boy.